that 5-set barely scrape by win that they had in Minnesota a few weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple of Wednesdays back. You see it there toward the bottom of the graphic on October the 30th when the Golden Gophers survived in extra points in the 5th set. First serve comes from Rachel Kilkelly. First attack from Madison Smithers, and Ohio State has the opening point.
Well, we talked a lot on Wednesday night about the maturity of Smithers that she brings to the court, and they need that right away, and she provides that with that swing off the outside hand.
Senior from Indiana. Ohio State piled up the aces on Friday night against Wisconsin, had 8 of them in 4 sets, and Smithers opens with 1 on the Buckeyes' first serve today.
Buckeyes will serve fast, but she just pins Kilkelly on the line there.
First attack from Samity, and it's turned back by the Ohio State block. Luke, that block for the Buckeyes had a slow start on Friday, but really picked up after a difficult first set.
Yeah, they changed tactics a little bit, and they really started to figure out who they wanted to block when. But that's a good start for them right now. They got to get some touches, and they got to keep the Minnesota attackers out of sorts.
Samity and Morgan there for the block on Moore.
Samity and Morgan are high flyers, super physical, and the one thing that the 2 freshmen outsides, Moore and Gonzalez, have to do well is manage poor sets and hit that ball high off their hands.
The serve from McGraw. On the slide, Sambothu is very successful off that right side, a big part of Ohio State's attack in the middle sets on Friday night, and she comes up with a block to put Ohio State up by 3 again.
Ohio State has really fine-tuned where they're lining up the block over the last few weeks. They're doing a much better job of closing down space by getting in front of the attackers, and if they can continue that, the Minnesota passers are going to be in a tough spot.
Another ace, this one from Becca Maurer, who had a couple of them on Friday night. This Buckeyes service game is on another level this weekend.
Yeah, and it's literally the clean serve and then the change of pace and depth is what's killing the passers.
Awkward swing for Rollins, but off the block and down. Minnesota pulls back within 3.
That's a good touch on the block. I think they have to, the Ohio State defense has to come up with that, but Adana Rollins recognizing the situation, banging high off the hands, you're going to get some points in those situations. Smart move by her.
Samity serves, junior from Claremont, Florida. Maurer sits Whitty in the middle, too much on it.
And Whitty has not been herself as of late, and I like that Maurer is trying to get her involved early, but they need a big match from her, whether it's blocking or attacking. They have to have some production out of the middle from her.
Sambothu, she was a huge part of that attack off the right side for Ohio State when the offense was otherwise faltering against Wisconsin.
And keeping her on the right and letting her go off one leg right there on that slide, that really is going to put the Minnesota block in a tough spot there.
Strong start for Sambothu, her first kill to go with a couple of blocks. And the serve from Bia Franklin, senior Brazilian. Franklin got down for it, but it drifted wide. Kill for Reagan Pittman.
And Minnesota, when they played the Buckeyes on October 30th, they switched into this 6-2 with DeLonga setting, and it's a layer that they haven't shown in quite a few years, a 6-2, because they've had a really good setter in Sam Sulliger-Swinson previously. So a little bit more pressure on the Buckeye block, having to block 3 attackers at all times.
Gonzalez off the block for the kill.
And one thing I would love to keep an eye on tonight is when Samity goes out in the back row, she actually serves, and the Gophers don't have any setter on the court in that rotation, so we got to keep an eye on that and how the Buckeyes will exploit that.
Pittman in the middle. Maurer sets Gonzalez again. She was heavily used on Friday night with at times limited success, forced into a few errors, but a couple of early kills today.
And you see a great dig from Kylie Murr there, really allows the transition game to go fast to Gonzalez, which keeps her in a better position attacking.
Murr didn't get a lot of that swing from Miyabi.
Gonzalez really had a night the other night. 5 blocks against the Badgers. Gets a good touch there, but Miabe with a really nice swing off the high hands. And Kylie Murr, I think the best defensive libero in the maybe in the country, but definitely in the Big Ten. Just couldn't come up with that one.
Franklin receives the serve. And that was too high for Pittman. A kill for Smithers. Sort of a sloppy point, certainly from the Buckeyes' perspective, but they'll take it.
Smart play by Smithers. She, the senior, knock into a middle playing left back defense there. Pittman's not as mobile or as experienced playing defense as McGraw, and took advantage of that lack of experience by just knocking it overhead there.
Hannah Gruensfelder serves. She had a good defensive game Friday. Into the block. Turned away by Gonzalez.
And she's contributing defensively as well there. You see Gonzalez out and just going up, taking up space and being really simple there. You know, hitters are going to make those mistakes. If you're on time, a little late, they can't see you and you're simple, you're going to get a block.
Service error from Gruensfelder. Ohio State had only 5 against 10 aces in the 4-set win over Wisconsin Friday night. And that was, Luke, a piece that we talked about a lot at the time because the Badgers were considered the stalwart serving team. They really struggled. More than twice as many errors as aces. Meanwhile, Ohio State was 2-1, the kind of number that the Buckeyes couldn't have dreamed of coming into that match.
Yeah, the Buckeyes are good servers, but they're doing – it looks to me like they're changing the depth very effectively and serving seams. They just got to keep that ball on the Gopher passers tonight, and I think we could see some of the same success.
Samity, 2-time first-team All-American with a kill.
And you see how high Samity gets here. She hits over the block of Pedraza, and this is an interesting rotation for the Buckeyes. They leave Pedraza in the middle to set out of the middle, and they keep Gonzalez, who usually hits on the left, on the right. So rotation 5, they're just looking for solutions and they're looking for options. And right now, if they can continue to pounce on what we just saw there with some miscommunication on the Golden Gophers side, they got to keep pressing and keep this 4-point lead and keep pressure on the Gophers to execute.
Hart and McMenamin just ran into each other. Awkward set for Hart. Dug out by Murr. Janasia Moore off the block. That's the first Moore kill today.
The Buckeyes have gotten so much better at their transition game since their time at Minnesota, and they keep her in rhythm there, and she gets to the opportunity to bang off of Morgan's inside hand.
Ohio State coming off the best win in the young history of the Covelli Center Friday night against Wisconsin, up 5 early on Hugh McCutcheon's Golden Gophers. We'll step aside, return after this Minnesota timeout to Columbus. Gonzalez on serve for Ohio State out of the timeout. And a good swing from Taylor Morgan.
And she's going to have some of these kills tonight, but Morgan is a superior jumper, and when she connects and there's a little bit of space there, she's going to get some really impressive kills, and that was her first one of the night. She's a fun player to watch.
Kelly serves. Pedraza sets Smithers. Rollins off Gonzalez's hand. A diving Gruensfelder comes up just short. Back-to-back Minnesota points.
One thing that the Buckeyes did really well against the Gophers is tip. So you see Samity dig the ball there, and she's out of contention to attack, which limits it just to Taylor or Donna Rollins there, and really limits the responsibility of the Ohio State blockers. I would look for them to continue to do that. Morgan
again, 3 in a row for the Gophers.
They've got to do a better job, the Buckeyes, of putting pressure on the Golden Gophers. If they can dig that ball inside the 10-foot line, specifically inside the state of Ohio on the Terraflex court, the Golden Gophers are going to have a lot of options, and it'll be really hard to stop.
Timeout called by Jeff Carlston. Hugh McCutcheon's worked pretty well with a 3-0 Minnesota run. We'll see if Carlston's works as well for the Buckeyes. Another timeout in Columbus. 12-10 Ohio State in the first. Rachel Kilkelly serves for Minnesota out of the timeout. Pedraza sets Moore. At the net, Smithers was up for it with Morgan. Moore had to stop and come back for the set. Rollins off the net, it drops.
And you
That's
see
4 straight for Minnesota.
On that in zone view there, you see that Rollins just kind of takes her time and sees that open spot in zone 4 and hits it wrist away. That's really good court vision by her.
Pedraza at the net. Kept up momentarily by Gruensfelder, but not well enough. And since the Hugh McCutcheon timeout, Minnesota has won all 5 points and pulled back even.
Buckeyes right now have to compose themselves and pass the ball. Hannah Gruensfelder, the DS for the Buckeyes, was exceptional against Wisconsin, and she's in a little bit of a rut here. But that helps right there. That missed serve definitely takes a lot of pressure off the Buckeyes.
First service error for Minnesota today, 17th for Kilkelly this season. Smithers serves. She had an early ace for the Buckeyes on their first serve of the day. Rollins off the block, and it's 13-all.
Pedraza's in there, so the Buckeyes run a 5-1, so there's one setter on the court at any time, and they sub a front row setter and a back row setter. So Pedraza plays through the front row for her attacking and blocking prowess, and Maurer plays in the back row for her defense, and because she's a little smaller as well.
Pedraza sets Sambothi. It's been a reliable offensive option for Ohio State this weekend, but dug out by Minnesota, and it drops in.
And Sambothi on that slide, a lucky touch by Minnesota, and then miscommunication there. Hannah Gruensfelder's whole entire responsibility as a DS is to touch the first ball and make it easier on her attackers, and she is waiting for Gonzalez to run behind her and take that ball. She's got to assert herself and be that first touch specialist.
Moore blocked. Gonzalez kept it up, but only for a moment. It's a 7-1 Minnesota run.
Air has been completely taken out of Ohio State, but we talk a lot about you got to swing higher than that if you're Janasia Moore or Gabby Gonzalez. Reagan Pittman is a very good blocker. She gets above the net. She takes up space. She's disciplined. Hitting low is not going to work.
Moore off the block and down.
And so from one play to another, she makes a really good adjustment, and this is why she's been successful. As you can see here, she's going to hit high off the hands of Samity and Pittman there, and that's why she's successful. Your fingers are not as strong as your forearms, so you have a lot of success hitting high.
Becca Maurer to serve for the Buckeyes. Down the line, dig by Murr on Samity. Moore. And Luke, you said that's the kind of play that Ohio State found success with a couple of weeks ago in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and so this is typically the zone 4 defender. So Donna Rollins, systematically for Minnesota over the last 5 or 6 years, that has been her responsibility. But there seems to be some confusion in who's taking those balls.
Samity cross court powerfully.
And Samity's going to have, again, some impressive kills just like Morgan. So I said earlier that this is one of the rotations that we want to pay attention to. Samity is serving. The Golden Gophers have no setter on the court right now, no specific setter. So I would assume that the DS, Kilkelly or McGraw, are going to take the second ball should the Buckeyes get it to them.
Gonzalez out of the back row. We don't get a chance to find out.
And so the reason they're doing that is because they feel like Samity's serve can score them points, and that their block and defense and then their out-of-system attacking is much more advantageous than having their setter serve in those situations. We'll see how that proves over time. Right now, they haven't scored any point on Samity's serve yet.
Franklin serve received by Kilkelly. In the middle, the attack came from Ivy Mayabe.
And that's in the matches I've watched when they're running this 6-2, Miyabi hasn't run that. They've run that 6-2 with Pittman on the slide, but they haven't set Miyabi a lot. So I would expect the Buckeye blockers to go with Pittman there and really leave Miyabi open, which might be advantageous for the Golden Gophers.
Maurer set Whitty, blocked away by Pittman.
Pittman, again, she's really disciplined. She's one of the best middles in the nation. You're not going to fool her. She's not going to make a lot of mistakes if you tip low and into her hand. She's going to get that ball. The Buckeyes have to have a better plan for poor sets like that.
Ohio State built a 5-point lead early in this set. Serve from Rollins. Sambothi blocked. Slide attacks have not been as successful our last couple tries, but Gonzalez finishes off her team best 4th kill on 5 attacks without an error.
And a great cover by Franklin, in system cover, which allows them to run fast to the pins, and Gonzalez to get that kill.
Serve from Murr. Miyabe off Franklin's hands. Luke, she struggled at times defensively Friday night for Ohio State.
Yeah, and she's been kind of a wash right now. She hasn't done anything poorly, and she hasn't done anything great yet. But she is a senior, and she's a leader for this team, and I'm sure that's why she's on the court. And she has enough experience where she can respond and have a better match tonight.
Reagan Pittman, redshirt junior from Spring Hill, Kansas, to serve. Smithers in the middle.
So a young squad in the Buckeyes, but Smithers, again, a key senior in leadership and maturity. It's nice to see that Becca Maurer is using her in those situations. And Jordan Fry had subbed in for Whitty. She's still running that one-footed slide, so that layer remains behind, which is really nice.
Murr sets Gonzalez, and Ohio State has evened it up again at 19.
So one of the trouble of being as big of a jumper as Morgan is when you go up, if you go up too high, you're actually too big of a target, and she's just a little late to press over there. It's a convenient problem to have, but if you're a seasoned attacker, you can use it to your advantage.
Alexis Hart wanted a touch, didn't get it.
And it looks like
Hugh McCutcheon had the challenge card out before there was even an official call.
And he got up right away. And that view right there is a little hard to see just because of the pace of it. But I would expect he was so convinced. I'm not sure if he even asked his players there, even though most of the Minnesota players were petitioning for it. So the touch call is not always a given because the slow what am I trying to say here?
Slow-mo replay quality.
Thank you. Yeah, the slow-mo replay quality kind of deteriorates the video. And even in that view, it's kind of hard to see. Neither of the reactions from the Buckeyes would tell me that they touched the ball, and you can't go on that as a referee. But there is a net cam, and the replay system. The replay system that we see is different from the replay system that the officials use. So a lot of the times we'll see something and we'll say, hey, there's definitely a touch on that. At least that's what we think. But the referees don't have access to this feed that the viewers at home are seeing. So it's tough to tell, and you never really know, and they have to have evidence that it's definitely a touch to overturn it.
Yeah, it's important to remember that in all different conferences, all levels of volleyball, there are times we see the net cam now slowed down, maybe get a better look at the hands of Pedraza and Smithers.
Well, it's too close to call.
Looked like it would have been Pedraza all the way to the outside.
Well, it looks like they've come to a decision here.
And on review, there was a tip. So even though we didn't have a replay that looked conclusive, it is important to remember that the officials very well could have had access to an angle that we can't see, and that would have been much more conclusive. So Hugh McCutcheon's challenge successful. Rather than a 3-0 run, Minnesota goes back in front 20-19.
So Samity is back in the front row for the Golden Gophers. She is their most talented attacker, but I would say this is one of their best rotations here with Samity on the right, Hart on the left, and Morgan in the middle.
Gonzalez, was there a touch that time? Yes, indeed.
Yeah, all four referees saw that one. So Janasia Moore's back in the front row for the Buckeyes. That's good. She's typically been their best attacker. Today only 3 kills and 2 errors on 7 attempts, so hitting 143. But Gonzalez is one of the better servers as well.
Samity blocked by Moore.
That's what we call a phone booth block. It's like hitting a ball in a phone booth. It comes right back at Samity here. Very nice move by Janasia Moore. Nice and simple over the net. just allowing for a surface for the ball to come back off of.
Samedi, more awkward this time. Pedraza sets Moore. McGraw forced to set Hart. Moore again. Might have been headed out. Dug by Rollins. Awkward for Gruensfelder. Moore a third time. Diving play by McGraw. Hart finally drops it in front of Murr. Ragged rally, and the Golden Gophers tie the score.
What a rally, though. Great defense from both teams. This out-of-system swing, though, from Hart, really intuitive, understanding that there's a lot of cross-court there. But that's one of the places the Buckeyes have to get better. In those situations, they have to bring that block in and close a little bit more space. They've been doing a better job, but they made a mistake on that one.
Kilkelly serves. Gonzalez had a moment of indecision, it looked like. Moore drops another one in, her second kill on that exact move.
So I don't know if it's a different setter or what it is, but this ball has been really effective for the Buckeyes in Minnesota, and now tonight. That's 2 or 3 kills already on a tip.
Rollins got a touch from the block. It was too far from Gonzalez. 22 all, reminiscent of the hyper-competitive first set between Ohio State and Wisconsin on Friday night in this building, when the Buckeyes did have an early lead in that one as well that evaporated. They went behind, same way as they did today. And it was eventually decided well into extra points. Ohio State took the first set 29-27. Poor set for Moore, and she couldn't corral it.
Not great work from Pedraza with her feet there, getting in a better situation. As you see, she's backing up, and that alters her contact point, and that's why that ball comes out as a double.
Timeout called by Jeff Carlston. His second and final of the opening set. Hugh McCutcheon's Golden Gophers have responded. They're up 23-22. Try to retain a share of first place in the Big Ten. Looking to close out the first set next. Now the Jeff Carlston timeout. Ohio State down 23-22 in the first set. Minnesota has CeCe McGraw to serve, the sophomore from Prior Lake. Leads the team with 18 aces this year. Big Ten all-freshman team selection a year ago. Overpass from Gonzalez. Ohio State able to corral it, but Sambothi into the net. A rare attack error from the senior transfer from Kansas State, and Minnesota has set point.
Sambothi is a perfect set type of kid. She's not great behind the setter when the ball is not passed well. That was a poor decision from Pedraza, but it all started with the pass from Gonzalez. Let's see if she can respond here.
Better pass from Gonzalez. More cross court. Diving play by McGraw, but not playable for the Golden Gophers in the end. And now a massive second set point for Minnesota. A chance for Ohio State to force extras.
Great swing by Moore there, just making McGraw move to her left, which is a difficult position to be in zone 5 defense. Maurer, best server for the Buckeyes, steps to the line. This is a good spot for them to be in, considering the score.
17 aces this year, 1 already in this set, 2 Friday night against Wisconsin. But that's off the block and down for Stephanie Samedi, and Minnesota survives. The Golden Gophers trailed 12-7 in this first set. 8th-year head coach Hugh McCutcheon used a massive timeout. And from that point on, the Golden Gophers completely to break. Luke Wood-Maloney, Nate Gatter with you here from Columbus. Gabby Gonzalez will serve to open the second set for the Buckeyes. Do you think, even though it was a hyper-competitive first set, Luke, that dropping that opening set slashes the Buckeyes' confidence that would have carried over from Friday night at all?
I don't know. This team has been continually growing and getting better and responding. We'll definitely see within the first 5 points how that loss affected them.
Diving play by McGraw. She had some good digs in the first set. Pedraza sets Moore. Samedi scrambled to recover. Both teams been out of system. Smithers off the block. Samedi off balance again. Moore. Set in the middle, Morgan. Relatively quiet in the first set. It's one after another to Janasia Moore, and a violation called against Minnesota. Rollins was into the net.
If I had to guess off that first point, that was a good response from the Buckeyes. They're not too worried about that first set loss.
At 17 attacks already for Moore. She had 4 on that point alone. Another poor set. Minnesota's had a few issues in the early going. Smithers off the block. Diving play, Kilkelly. Tipped over creatively by Morgan. Moore comes back again, and another kill for Janasia Moore, the freshman from Maryland.
Not a great set from Pedraza. This ball's on the 10-foot line. You can see Moore stop, but she does a nice job adjusting her timing and her space to the ball to get a good kill.
Better set for Samity, and she dropped it on the line just in front of Murr.
As you want kids to be perfect if they're going to score on you, and I'm not sure there's a better shot than hitting the left shoe, the outside foot of the libero. That's a perfect shot by Samity right there.
McGraw serves. One of a handful of early enrollees on this Minnesota squad. Sophomore who's been with the program since January of 2018. So she finished high school a year early. Tipped down by Moore. 3-1 Buckeyes.
They're calling Moore over the net there. So the ball wasn't in the plane of the net when she went over to get it. And Coach Carlston is livid right now, and I think he has a case to make. I think Moore was right there. I think the ball was in the plane of the net, and she made a good play on it. The ball has to be, if any part of the ball is in the plane, it's fair. You can go get it. And the down ref actually made and initiated that call, and I think that was a poor call there.
It's close.
It's close.
You could read his lips. He said that was a horrible call. He has not been shy this weekend. He was getting after the officials to the point of a yellow card Friday night against Wisconsin. In the middle, Smithers off McGraw. Kilkelly after it, but can't get there.
So one thing I think we need to pay attention to is one, this is a great swing from Smithers there, but the Minnesota, if the setter is off the net behind the 10-foot line, McCutcheon doesn't want his attackers to transition much farther than the 10-foot line, but the quality of the set that's coming to those outside hitters in an out-of-system situation like that is not leading them enough to get a lot of power on it. So if the Buckeyes can put pressure on Minnesota and get the setter off the net, the set quality is not great, and I think they're going to score a lot of points doing that.
Moore off the block, drops again. Janasia Moore having a big second set so far.
And so Samity served that ball again in that rotation, and she hasn't scored any points in that rotation yet. I'm curious if they're going to stick with that. I can understand if she's got an exceptional serve, but the Buckeyes are handling it well, and she's not really even an offensive option in that rotation.
Berlanga sets Rollins. Maurer answers to Sambothi. Pittman cross court. Jeff Carlston wanted a double. He ends up with the point anyway.
You know, every middle wants to be a setter at some point in their life, and everyone wants to dump. And that was a perfect opportunity for Pittman. She just missed it.
Nearly a Maurer ace. Still Minnesota has to give up the free ball. Sambothi comes back, but she's blocked.
What a move by Adana Rollins there. She made a great read on Sambothi and stayed with her. Look at her steps every step of the way. Her eyes are on the ball. She really made a great read and an exceptional move with her hands there.
And with the exception of Sambothi's first swing today, it seems like Minnesota identified her success on film from Friday night and the extent to which she was kind of a safety valve for an otherwise struggling Buckeyes offense, because they have been prepared for her on the right side today.
They have, and she usually in these situations when she's hitting right now, she's hitting -143, 1 kill, 2 errors, 7 attempts. She has not over this season been able to respond when she starts slow. So they've done a nice job essentially taking her out of the equation so far.
Whitty in the middle. Tipped back down by Sambothi. Not a lot offensively for Ohio State, but the Buckeyes staying alive at this point. Saw a lot of that Friday against Wisconsin. Hart has been stymied time and again. Try the other side. Miyabe didn't get anything. Jeff Carlson's not happy, and a whistle gives the point to Ohio State. Now Hugh McCutcheon will complain.
So you could see on the view right there, the down official. Watch the down official's chest. So he sees 2 touches there. He puts 2 in front of his chest, and he's signaling, "Hey, I saw 2 touches there." And that's how the referees communicate. So he saw a double touch, I believe, on Miyabe, and that's why he called it there. And that's why the call was a little late to come in, because the down ref had to communicate that to the up ref.
Bia Franklin serves. Miyabe this time better.
Miyabe has not been a big role. Well, she's been a role player so far, but she hasn't been a big contributor. But that's her 5th kill of the night. And you can see she has some really sneaky power there. She doesn't get her elbow back. She doesn't use her hips a ton, but the ball comes off her hands really, really fast. She's hitting .444 tonight so far.
That matches her with Donna Rollins for the team high 5 kills. Maurer sets Gonzalez.
And Gonzalez continues to stay on fire. She's hitting .700. That's 7 kills on 10 attempts with 0 errors.
And that's impressive for the freshman to bounce back from what was a really poor performance by her standards Friday night. Now, they rode her hard, 56 total attacks, but she hit .036 Friday.
Yeah, but she made those plays when they needed her to make those plays, and that's something that I'm super impressed with by her as a freshman. She's a stone cold killer. In the big moments, she's going to get the kills, but she has to do a better job in the non-pressure moments, still getting the kills.
Service error by Murr. That's the 3rd error charged to Ohio State in the opening set plus. Remember, the Buckeyes made only 5 service errors in 4 sets Friday night against Wisconsin. Minnesota's coming off a 3-set sweep Friday night at Maryland. Serve from Bailey McMenamin, sophomore from Florida. Young setters on this team for the Gophers. Lost a lot of that position, of course, All-America caliber talent. They even things up at 8. And on top of that, they brought in the transfers. You get a second look at the kill from Hart. Brought in Kylie Miller, senior after 3 seasons at UCLA, and she is out with injury. So only a sophomore and a freshman left to set for Minnesota. There's a McMenamin ace.
Yeah, the score is pretty close right now, but it really feels like the Buckeyes are not executing very well. Minnesota is not doing anything super special right now. They're just putting consistent pressure on the passers, and the passers are not responding.
Only the 7th ace this season for McMenamin. Smithers toward the corner. Rollins was there. She had a double-double against Maryland Friday night. 7th of her season. Hart, cross court. Been some success there for Hart off the left side of this set.
Really poor job lining up on the block there from Whitty. You can see her. She's just going to go right to the pin, and that set is really far inside. And that puts Smithers in a really tough position. She's not doing anything with her block there.
4-0 Minnesota run. Gonzalez. Diving play by McMenamin. McGraw can at least get a free ball over to the Buckeyes. Whitty pounded down in front of McGraw.
Well, that's how they won the Minnesota game, is they created havoc on the other side, and then they rode it out here. But as you can see on those perfect pass situations, when the pass is in the state of Ohio, they're one-on-one with the block. So really, Maurer can choose who she wants to set win and make it advantageous for her attackers.
Gruensfelder serves. Junior from Weldon Spring, outside St. Louis. Smithers, rather easy call for our line judge. Drilled him in the leg.
And Smithers is usually pretty good about taking care of these balls, but just gets under it, really going for hands and misses. That's why it looks so bad. It was a smart swing, actually. Oh, it's
a challenge for a touch, maybe? Or did they call a touch? It's 10-10 on the board here. It initially went to 11-9. I guess they called a touch on Minnesota, and now Hugh McCutcheon is going to challenge it.
And this is the situation where he's he's usually going to ask his players, so Hart and Morgan, who are on the court and in front of that attack, he's gonna go to them and say, hey, did you touch that ball? And if they say no, that's going to give him some cause to challenge. So smart play by him. From up here, it didn't look like there was a touch, but there must have been something called.
Game when she temporarily donated the shoe to Kylie Murr.
Yeah, that was a big moment for her, and I said it on the broadcast that she showed some exceptional leadership by giving up her equipment for her teammate.
That's servant leadership.
Yeah, same position, like there could be some spite there if they wanted to, and there's not enough evidence to overturn that, so the Buckeyes win that point. And that's the trouble. There's too much visual distortion.
Hugh McCutcheon not happy, unsurprisingly. And in fairness to him, it did look like he had a good case. And I think if you went into that review with no call on the floor, just saying what is more likely, I think you'd say it's more likely there was no touch, but just not an inconclusive angle.
Oh, I completely agree.
McMenamin sets Hart. Gonzalez keeps it alive. Diving Murr does the same. Franklin and Gruensfelder get it over. McMenamin awkwardly against the net. Hart down in front of Franklin and Murr.
A good scrappy play by the Buckeyes, but Minnesota is just really using their touch to the advantage. You see that ball passed on the net, puts Alexis Hart in a really good position to hit high off the hands because Smithers can't close to Petraza there.
Kilkelly, the freshman Minnesotan, to serve. Pedraza to Gonzalez, blocked by the combination of Morgan and Samity.
Samity with a clamp there. You see just her hands get over the net just before she touches it, and she's not really high over the net or super far, but she's sealing the net and the space that Gonzalez has to swing there.
Gruensfelder and Murr nearly came together on the serve receive, and Gonzalez has the kill, too hot off McMenamin's hands.
This is a good adjustment from Gonzalez. That block was her first mistake of the night. She finds a way around the block there, but one thing that she has to do better is she has to hit the ball higher when she feels like she's in a good situation, and especially when she feels like she's in a bad situation.
And an ace for Gonzalez.
Gonzalez with 11 points on the night so far with that ace. She leads the Buckeyes with Janasia Moore with 11 points.
Rollins off the block and down.
Again,
Rollins' sixth kill to lead the team.
This does not feel like the Buckeyes should be sticking around. I think the quality of play, as you see Rollins hit that ball off Pedraza's right hand, I just feel like the play of Minnesota has been much more controlled and aggressive compared to the Buckeyes.
Smithers. Moore. Off the block and down in front of Smithers.
And that's a mistake by Smithers. You can see a great pass here and a really nice set by Pedraza, but Smithers is just checked out mentally of the play because she's so far away and she can't change directions to get back underneath the ball.
Do you feel Minnesota's been significantly better so far today than a couple of Wednesdays ago playing Ohio State in Minnesota?
Yes, they're handling the first touch a lot better, and despite a few off-speed balls that they haven't dug, they've handled that much better.
Are you surprised the Buckeyes haven't tried more of those, as we see a good-looking kill from the back row for Gonzalez, her match-high 9th? Are you surprised, though, that the Buckeyes haven't used more of those kind of shots, considering how Minnesota has struggled now over 7 sets almost to deal with them?
Yeah, I think that was the most obvious thing as a fan and as a coach that they struggled with. Minnesota was picking up those tips, and I'm surprised that they haven't done that yet. They've thrown 3 or 4 over that have worked, but they haven't done a ton of it.
Jeff Carlston was frustrated with something after that point. Ellie Sambothi was gesturing during the middle of the point.
Yeah, there was I believe it was Samity hit that ball down into the tape, and it didn't look like the Buckeyes touched it. And this is the rotation where Samity is serving, and there's no setter in. Let's see if she can score a point and justify this move by the coaches.
Sticking with it now past the midway point of the second set. Samity sets Rollins. down the line, and Minnesota goes up by 3. Finally, the Gophers have a point in that rotation.
So you see if there's a dig, Samity's going to come in and set, but that takes her out offensively. I'm still confused as why they're doing that.
16-13 is the Minnesota advantage. Timeout, Jeff Carlston trying to keep his Buckeyes from falling behind 2-0 in Columbus. Jeff Carlston has been trying to use timeouts later stages of the first set and now in the second set to stem this rather steady Minnesota attack. Since the early stages, Ohio State did build a 12-7 lead in the first set, but the Golden Gophers have been the significantly better team since then. Won it by 2 in the first set, and now their lead is trimmed to 2 in the second. But Luke, it feels like Ohio State, at the risk of being too critical, is fortunate to have been at that close in the first and is fortunate to still be this close in the second.
Yeah, and really it's one run here and one run there that has allowed the Golden Gophers to pull ahead. If they can do a little bit better job receiving and in first ball side out, they're going to be right in this match. They're scoring enough points from the baseline where they're staying in it, but they have to do a better job siding out.
And a violation called at the net.
And so you see that the tight pass there, and the setter goes underneath the net and then brushes the net with her lower back, and that's the call coming from the referee there. Tough position to put the setter in.
Minnesota has struggled receiving Mauer's serve, even when she hasn't had aces, but that's a sloppy point for the Buckeyes to give away. Rollins, her 8th kill.
And we see her going backwards to hit that ball. There's no way that ball should ever land on the Buckeye side. And you, if you were watching Coach Carlston during that point, he put the glasses on top of his head and he was rubbing his face because he's so frustrated, rightfully so.
And a service error from Rollins. It feels as though an important point to make is how often Wisconsin kept Ohio State in sets during these little lulls and the inconsistencies that come from a young Buckeyes team by doing just that, committing service errors, and Minnesota has been able to limit those more successfully.
Exactly, and this is something we saw the other night was Janasia Moore's serve scoring a lot of points.
She had 4 aces in 4 sets Friday night against Wisconsin, after only 4 aces the entire season before this weekend. In the middle, Whitty, and you said she's just been a little bit off.
And that's the transition game that you want from the Buckeyes. A perfect dig. Look at that touch from Whitty, who slows the ball down and allows her to get an opportunity to kill the ball, and she just misses wide. But that's how the Buckeyes were really good in transition against the Badgers, but they were terminating that ball. They're not doing that tonight. That's why the Gophers are maintaining their lead.
Minnesota's hitting .317. Ohio State just .181. Sambothy, did she get a touch? No.
There's a touch on the far side on the line judge on the right in front of the Buckeye bench. And let's see if there's a touch here. I'm not sure there was, but this is the problem I think with the challenge system is that the up ref has full authority to overrule a line judge, but then that puts the coach in a position where, like, I have 3 challenges, and if I win it, I don't get it back. So you're making me make a decision because you don't trust a call from someone who has a different perspective from you. There might have been a micro touch there, but that's a tough situation to put a coach in, and I really dislike that rule. I think in that situation, I think coaches should get a free challenge or something should happen, but the up ref can't always just overrule the people she has working for her.
In fairness, on that replay, it did look like it cleared Hart's hands rather significantly. Gonzalez blocked it. It drops in. Minnesota by 4. An extended conversation. Jeff Carlston was sending Gabby Gonzalez back and forth to the up official to talk it through. Gonzalez is turned away, and Jeff Carlston uses his second and final timeout of the second set. Minnesota took the first by 2. The 6th-ranked Gophers trying for an 8th straight Big Ten win, and they lead by 4 in the second. Jeff Carlston now out of timeouts. Minnesota up by 4 in the second set. Nate Gatter, Luke Wood-Maloney back with you from the Covelli Center in Columbus, where the Gophers are 5 points away from a commanding 2-0 lead. And they've won 3 straight points before the timeout.
And that miscommunication or the overruling by the up ref really could have been a momentum changer for the Buckeyes had they won that point. And I do think she got the call right. It's just it's an interesting dynamic to watch play out.
Reagan Pittman serves for the Gophers. Whitty, diving Hart got there. Gets Minnesota well out of system. Maurer to Sandbothi. Buckeyes didn't make the most of that opportunity.
Poor set there.
Gonzalez. Morgan, she's been quiet. Only 2 kills. Gonzalez kills it off for Ohio State.
That was a good transition touch there. A good block touch, again by Whitty. Great dig by Murr, and allows that pace to the outside to put Gonzalez in a better position. But they're just letting Minnesota have too many opportunities. They've got to kill the ball earlier in a rally.
Gonzalez down the line, just wide.
Smart play by her, just missed it. Again, we talk about, you see that ball being set on the 10-foot line, and Gonzalez is maybe 13 feet away from the net, and she doesn't have any runway to really put power behind her. So better out-of-system sets from the Buckeyes are going to put them in better positions, just like we talked about with Minnesota and their pin hitters not transitioning too far.
Serve from McMenamin. It's interesting, you talked about coaches taking advice from their players, particularly on touch challenges. Jeff Carlston looked toward Janasia Moore, who's at the back of that bench line, right on the sideline, and had the perfect view along with the line judge. Minnesota goes up by 5 to see if he should challenge that Gonzalez shot down the line.
And that's the advantage of having a big bench down there. You have people that are close to the line. Whitty's just trying to get a touch on that ball, but she's not trying to block it, and that's the problem there. If you can't get your hand on the outside of the ball, you can't send it back into the court, and Hart makes a great play on her.
McMenamin error, and Whitty, before that point, checked out, replaced by Jordan Fry, who immediately leaves again with Mac Pedraza introduced to set in the front row, and Hannah Gruensfelder takes over in the back row where she'll serve.
So Gruensfelder on Friday night was one of the Buckeyes' best servers, and she has been in her career. That was not a good serve, though.
Hart off the block and down. Minnesota now 2 points away for the second set and looking very confident down the stretch.
You see Pedraza goes high. She doesn't get across the net, and when you go high, you just open yourself up to poor touches, and Hart takes advantage of it.
Kilkelly serves. In the middle, Smithers the kill.
Good swing by Smithers. As you can see here, just waits and hits that slower ball right off Morgan's hands. Smithers, 6 kills, 0 errors on 16 attempts tonight, hitting .375. That's a good line for her. Poor set.
Smithers again, tipped up by Morgan. Rollins off the block. This is dangerous. McMenamin got there. Rollins once more. Minnesota just staying alive, but Rollins goes into the net.
Oh, I like that. That was a fun play by Minnesota. They really kept that ball alive. Great hustle by McMenamin there, and then Morgan setting Rollins, and Rollins tries to hit the ball on 2 after Morgan covered it. I like the creativity.
Morgan, good dig by Murr. Ohio State just stays alive, trying to pull back in the second set, but Rollins off the block earns the Gophers a set point.
The Buckeyes are just not consistently putting together good defensive plays. Murr with a good dig, and then Pedraza and Smithers getting tooled on the outside there. They've got to be a little bit more disciplined in their blocking.
McGraw serves for the set. Smithers. Murr sets more. And a second consecutive block wins Minnesota the second set. The Gophers not even 2 weeks ago needed extra points in the 5th set at home to escape the would-be upsetting Buckeyes. Today in Columbus, Minnesota has gone up 2-0. We'll be back with a third after this on BTN Plus. Minnesota was tested considerably in the first set, less so in the second, and the Gophers have an opportunity.
Others is the only producer other than those two with 333, and then you have Sambothy and Whitty both negative on the night, so they're just trying to find some rhythm offensively.
Bauer sets Whitty, who was briefly lifted from the game led on in the second set. Moore. Sounded like there was a touch there. There definitely was in the back row from Kilkelly.
A good dig by Murr and a good set, but you watch Moore transition and get almost even with her setter Gonzalez there. That's what keeps her in that play.
Match high 11 kills from Moore, who has served very well this weekend. Samity, the opening kill for Minnesota in the third.
Good move by Maurer here, but Samity comes in 2-2 and swings high. She does that really well. When she doesn't have open court in front of her, she hits high and creates some havoc.
And Ohio State has contained her, Taylor Morgan, pretty well. It's been Adana Rollins, key piece for the Gophers. Smithers dunked by Kilkelly, and it's knocked over by Pittman to put Minnesota in front.
Those are the points that Ohio State has to contest there. That set was right on the net, as you can see here, right on the net. And Pittman wins it just because Whitty wasn't being aggressive and trying to get to the ball first.
Certainly hasn't been the best game for the junior middle from Mentor, Ohio. Serve from McGraw. There's Whitty.
Well, I think that ball was down.
Gonzalez didn't get the kill. Kilkelly for the moment giving a dig. Gonzalez comes back and makes an error off the net, and Jeff Carlson is going to want a challenge to that earlier Gonzalez attack was down.
Yeah, and that's a good challenge by him. It looks like Gonzalez just got a little too far away from that ball. The ball died inside. And there is going to be a challenge on this one, and it definitely, from my point of view, up here, it looks like there for sure was no touch on that ball. And I hate to rail on the line judges, but they've done a less than spectacular job tonight.
Friday night as well.
And they're just putting coaches in bad positions, and balls that are down are things that they should definitely see. So that's the terminating touch of the rally.
Yeah, we need to see that earlier one.
Yeah, I believe the first attack from the Buckeyes is the one that they're challenging. It landed right in front of Kilkelly. And we'll, the ball was down. So good challenge by Carlston, and it just blows my mind that they can't see that ball was down. I know we're in a little bit different vantage point, but if you're just following the ball and your eye sequences are good as referees, you're going to be able to pick that up.
Murr still on serve for the Buckeyes. Gonzalez blocked well. Maurer gets it back over. Rollins, and the offensive star for the Gophers so far today, and she's the first in double figures with her 10th kill.
Good scrap by Bia Franklin there, but you can't let that ball go back over the net there. You got to have a blocker up in front of her. Adana Rollins is going to take advantage of that whenever she can.
Samity to serve, the same rotation that we've been watching so closely. And it's a service error committed by the junior.
So again, they've only scored 1 point in that rotation all night. And usually you want a point score at above 40%, and they're not doing that for sure tonight. So I'm curious why they're doing it. I'm sure they have a good reason. I'm sure they're smarter than me with their personnel. They're in the gym every day, but I can only sit back here and speculate. It's a curious coaching move.
Rollins again, this time blocked. On the opposite side, Pittman was sprawling to get it over. In the end, recovers, but nobody was there after her first touch.
And despite the Buckeyes getting that play, Pittman hits the slide, falls down, as you see her running back here, picks up the tip, but there's no vision there from the setter to set the middle of the court or attack. There's 2 blockers on 3 attackers if you include Pedraza in that, and poor decisions there.
Pedraza sets Sambothi on the slide. Rollins. Sambothi again from the right, and there was too much on it. She wanted a touch. She's not going to get it. Jeff Carlston looks less interested in challenging this one.
Good swing there, and it's getting chippy between the players. Pittman turned right around and waved her finger in Sambothi's face there, and Sambothi again struggling to find some rhythm. 1 kill, 4 errors, 13 attempts, negative 231 on the night. They might need to make a change there.
Gonzalez on the left, diving play by Rollins. That's her 9th dig, closing in on a second straight double-double. Pedraza, rare dump. We haven't seen as much of that from her today.
Yeah, she was really effective on that on Friday night. But you see Pittman was all over it, but Pedraza snuck it past her before she could get up, and Miyabe had already checked out to go block Gabby Gonzalez.
Well, Gonzalez serves.
Oh, you got to call that. And Coach Carlson is charging the down official, and for a good reason here. Watch that touch. The ball is spinning like crazy.
And
Big
Gabby
double.
Gonzalez was just yellow carded.
No, I think Coach Carlson was yellow carded there, and as captain on the court, Gonzalez is called over to tell her why that yellow card's being issued. So I don't think that was to Gonzalez. I'd be very surprised if it was. But again, this hasn't been the best officiating crew that we've seen, and I don't want to take away from the spectacular play on the court, but that was pretty obvious to anyone who's watched at least a year of volleyball. So.
And Jeff Carlston is still getting after it with both of our officials. So he was given the official yellow card in the stats. Second match in a row, and he's earned one. Pedraza goes back to the dump. This time Minnesota able to react, although awkwardly.
Got to score on this one.
Sambothi, finally, her second kill.
So again, the havoc of just putting that ball on the setter and having Adana Rollins set Miyabe on that awkward swing there sets up a perfect pass, and then as you see there, Sambothi getting the kill. There's some talk going on through the net, and I'm going to be very entertained to keep an eye on that.
Miyabe evens it up again for Minnesota.
Buckeye block has been out of rhythm, as you can see here. Moore's going to jump, and on her way down, that's when Miyabe attacks that ball. So better vision from the blockers and better timing is going to really help them reduce some space on the court and lessen the effectiveness of the Minnesota attackers.
McMenamin serves. Does seem like Sambothi has been the catalyst of that ongoing conversation across the net, at least from the Ohio State side. Pancaked by McGraw. Moore. Awkward for Samity at the net. Made it work just well enough.
And Samity, that ball is tight, and there's a lot of chatter, whether it's to the referees or across the net. This is getting ugly fast for the Buckeyes. Despite the score being 6-7, it feels like the Buckeyes are in panic mode right now. They calm themselves down, and they need to execute a touch.
Jeff Carlson is having it feels like an extended conversation with the officials that is only pausing for points rather than stopping. And there's an ace. Wonder if Ohio State's composure is just unraveling a little bit in this third set.
Now this is Kylie Murr's ball all the way, but you see Gonzalez had a beat on it and jumped in front. Murr's job is to touch the first ball. Gabby's got to let her have that ball.
Timeout, Jeff Carlston. His Buckeyes trying to figure something out after a 4-set victory Friday night over 4th-ranked Wisconsin. It's number 6 Minnesota all over the Buckeyes in Columbus this afternoon. Minnesota up 8-6 in the third, looking for a sweep in Columbus. That would be the Golden Gophers' 8th win in a row to keep their spot time with Wisconsin atop the Big Ten. And they're headed home for 4 games, including big tangles with the Badgers. That against Michigan and Nebraska, a couple of top 10 opponents on that homestand that will stretch to the week before Thanksgiving. That Thursday night one should be fun, a top 10 battle. Even with Wisconsin's ranking likely dropping, Minnesota will enter that presumably as the higher ranked team, but it should be a really fun tangle. See if Ohio State can recover out of the timeout. Pedraza, her second kill of the set.
All right, good play from the Buckeyes. You see a control touch here by Grunsfelder, really allows for the attack from Pedraza. And she'll rotate out and Maurer will come in. They're got to gain some momentum here from the baseline, score a few points, and Maurer is the kid you want to do it.
Smithers off the set from Murr, found it on the sideline.
That was a really good swing by Smithers. Again, if you're a defensive coach, you're going to ask your players, hey, let's take up some space and let our kids be perfect, or let the other players be perfect, and that ball is on the line. Can't get much more perfect than that.
Maurer service error, Ohio State's 4th.
You can't let them off the hook, though, if you're the Buckeyes. A great swing by Smithers in a transition play, and then you go back and serve the ball in the net, and now you're in receive, which hasn't gone too well for you all night. Got to stay behind that baseline more.
Maurer to Whitty, only her second kill. It's been a slow afternoon for Lauren Whitty, but maybe that can get her going.
Yeah, 2-3-10, hitting -100. But as you see there, a good choice by Maurer. They've kind of started to key in on the pins the blockers of the Gophers have.
Rollins, too strong.
Yeah, and that was a good block, really gave Adana Rollins a little choice there. And she missed the block by just a little bit, and McCutcheon jumped off the bench there. He thought that ball was in. One challenge left, though, for him.
Rollins again, missed again.
And this is how they stay in it. You know, a little bit of movement from the setter, and just a little out of rhythm. The set looked good to me, so I think she just thought there was going to be hands in front of her.
Back-to-back attack errors from Rollins, who had only 2 the entire match before those last 2 points. Smithers blocked pretty easily.
And this is a really good touch by Gonzalez on the block. And Murr went and chased this ball down, but she dug it behind the 10-foot line. And as you see there, Smithers getting underneath the ball and not in great position to make a powerful attack with range.
So McGraw serves with Minnesota down 1. Awkward set from Maurer. It's Franklin out of the back row. Got something to it in the end. Samity, cross court, just too strong. Minnesota missing that baseline by maybe a combined foot on 3 different attack errors.
You see this ball coming over Samity's head, and she can't really ever get her right shoulder on the ball. That's when we were talking earlier. They need to transition farther off the net so they're in a better position to hit the ball.
Rollins recovers nicely, knocks it between Franklin and Murr. That's 10 kills for her.
A good swing there, but that ball has to come up. That is an easy dig for Murr, had she not gotten deked out there by Franklin.
Samity, All-American each of her first 2 seasons in Minneapolis. First Gopher ever to be named All-American as a freshman 2 seasons ago, but service error from her.
I think she's point scoring right now in this rotation at, I would say maybe 16% with what she's done so far. I'm just curious why they're doing it. I know she serves typically when they're in a 5-1 when Miller was around in last year, but I don't know if DeLonga is not just that bad of a server. They have to find some options in that rotation.
Pittman off the block. Pedraza set Samboth, who had a long way to go and still finished it.
And if you're watching at home, this slide is really dependent on the set. It's fast, and you can't see it from this angle, but she sets it over her left shoulder, which the ball comes off the net, and that's what forces Sambothy to go to the tip there. It's not a good position for her to swing.
Even for a player with Sambothy's athleticism, that set was asking an awful lot from her. She still was able to get there. Jeff Carlston thought that ball was out, didn't get the call. Rollins, cross court, wide, and she is off kilter. After only 2 errors the first 2 sets, she's made 3 at the midway point of the third.
Really good idea there, though. A lot of open space there in zone 4, and she just missed it long.
Ohio State's rattled off 3 straight points to take a 4-point lead in the third. Timeout, Hugh McCutcheon. Golden Gophers trying to battle back in their bid for a sweep. Ohio State has seized some momentum in the middle part of this third set. Showed you that upcoming schedule for Minnesota. What about for the Buckeyes, who head to the road to take on 15th-ranked Purdue Friday? Still a ranked opponent in Illinois left on that schedule as well, but very winnable games against Indiana, Northwestern, and Iowa. And all Ohio State has to do to secure a 500 overall record and an opportunity to go to the NCAA tournament is win those 3 games against the bottom half of the Big Ten.
Very doable.
Now the Buckeyes will want at least one more against the ranked opponents. They would have been optimistic about today's game after beating Wisconsin in 4 sets Friday night. Minnesota battles back within 3.
And, some irresponsible hands there by Sambothy, just trying to get a touch on it, but you got to touch the bottom of the ball in that instance, not the back of the ball.
Serve from Rollins. Off the mark. Sambothy wanted a touch again, didn't get it.
They have to end this right now. Good swing, I thought. Good swing, good set, but just got a little bit too far behind the ball. And the Buckeyes with the lead, they have to side out right here to calm themselves down and not create some panic on their side.
Sloppy pass at the net. Pedraza pulls Sambothy back from the net. Murr got underneath it. Buckeyes live to at least one more Minnesota attack, and Hart finishes off the point.
Oh, exceptional dig by Murr there in the beginning of that rally, but the free ball sent over puts Hart in a position where she's going to score on that ball 90% of the time, and despite a pretty good move by Sambothy to get her hands on the ball, there was just too much movement from the backcourt, and that's where if Minnesota is on the net and they've got all 3 options, they're really hard to stop. They got to create a little bit more chaos, the Buckeyes do.
Gonzalez blocked. Minnesota looking for a 4th straight point. DeLonga sets Hart. And that set went nowhere.
Miscommunication. I think DeLonga thought Pittman was running a push, which is a 1, just separate, just a little farther away from her. But as you can see, Reagan running a 31 right there, and DeLonga just doesn't see her. That's a setting mistake more than it is an attacking mistake. You should be able to see Pittman in front of you.
Pounded down in front of Gruensfelder.
And Sambothy is not the most disciplined blocker, but as you can see here, she's reaching to the ball and going high, and it's just opening up too much space. If she can be more disciplined and just provide a nice surface for the hitters to hit off of, she's going to get some of those blocks.
Not a great receive from Gruensfelder. Sets up a more difficult set for Murr. And Miyabe evens it for Minnesota.
And what a set from Rollins. DeLonga digs this ball here, and then Rollins, a non-setter, sets a perfect ball for Miyabe, and in the right spot with just enough room to kill the ball down the line off of Moore's outside hand.
Golden Gophers have evened things up, looking to move to 13-1 of the Big Ten and set up a match that very well could end up deciding the Big Ten title against Wisconsin Thursday night back in Minneapolis. Sambothy popped up by Pittman, and nobody could get there, crashing into their own bench.
And Sambothy is still that was her 5th kill, so she's just now eclipsed 0. But she's got to figure out a way to contribute if they're going to win this set and have a chance to win the match.
Hart cross court.
And so Gabby Gonzalez is playing left back in that situation because Sambothy is serving, and Gonzalez I think might be one of the most elite 6th zone, which is middle back defenders in the country, but she's not a great 5-zone defender, and she's in 5 in that situation to reduce the responsibility of Sambothy.
Service error by McMenamin. Minnesota's 6th against only 2 aces.
And Minnesota is just letting them hang around right now. The coach coming off the bench, trying to get them to calm down and just take care of their skills. And Carlson's trying to push his team on, score a few here. Again, Maurer has, over the years, been the best server for the Buckeyes. And just serving lollipops today.
Hart. Maurer sets more. Off the block at Ohio State. Goes up by 2.
And the Golden Gophers has identified that zone 4 tip right there that Moore dug as a vulnerability, but Moore finally digs it and puts herself in a good position.
Samity dug out. Moore easily blocked, but Ohio State fortunate to get another chance. Maurer finally back in system, sets Moore. And it drops in again.
Well, that was a big point for the Buckeyes there. A couple chances to score and a couple good touches from the Gophers. And as you see Kylie Murr with some great passion for Moore's kill there.
Moore's match-leading 13th kill of the afternoon. Timeout, Hugh McCutcheon. His Gophers now behind by 3 in the third set. Ohio State on a 3-0 run, and Becca Maurer serves out of the Hugh McCutcheon timeout for Minnesota. Hart comes back to pull the Golden Gophers within 2.
A good run by Maurer, really picking on Hart when she's in serve receive, which is smart. They sub her out in the back row for a reason, but passes the ball well enough to get in a good position to kill the ball.
Minnesota has only lost 3 matches this year, 2 at the beginning of the year against Florida State and Texas, 1 early on in Big Ten play in Madison against Wisconsin. Rematch coming on Thursday night. Rollins dug out by Moore, or rather by Murr, and it was Moore on the attack, but she's blocked, and Minnesota's back within 1. But Luke, even if Ohio State were to hold on and win this set as you get a second look, it's safe to say the Golden Gophers would not be fazed because they have yet to lose a match this year in which they win it even 1 set.
Really?
They've been swept in all 3 of their losses. If they win a set, they win the match. Timeout called by Ohio State. Will step aside again. The Buckeyes trying to at least force it to a 4th set, up 20-19 in the 3rd. Ohio State up by 1, 20-19 in the 3rd set, but feels again like maybe the Buckeyes under a little bit of duress here, Luke.
Yeah, they just keep letting the Golden Gophers go on these runs. They have to, if they can stop them, this would be a completely different set, and that doesn't help.
It's a 3-0 Minnesota spurt to tie things up.
Watch the ball just die. You see how that ball hits a pocket of air and just the bottom drops out. Those are really hard balls to pass.
Has been drafty in here today. A little AC wind. Samity off the block. Murr sets Smithers. And Ohio State in front again.
And Smithers has been doing a really nice job today. 8 kills, 1 air, 23 attempts. Hitting just around 280 and getting kills in big moments. Usually they're not setting her in those moments.
More service error, only the Buckeyes 5th, but a painful one.
Bad time to make a hitting error. As you can see, she just doesn't get a great toss on it and gets herself underneath and takes some speed off of it. They have to side out here if they're going to stay in this set.
Whitty, not a bad idea, but Samity was there. Moore digs Rollins. Gonzalez down the line and wide.
And Moore with a great in-system dig there. She doesn't normally play back row. Putting that ball in Maurer's hands, and Gonzalez saw a wide open line but missed it.
So Minnesota back in front. Gophers have won 5 of the last 6 points, but McGraw service error. So Moore had a big net ball on her serve. McGraw gives a point back.
As you see, she's just trying to keep that ball a little close to the net. And a big spot here for Murr. They've got to transition kill a ball here.
Samity.
That's her opportunity right here.
Gonzalez, just too strong.
And she did miss that one, but oh man, that was a great opportunity. What a dig here by Murr. Puts him right in system. And just missed it long. And Coach Carl.
Game Big Ten winning streak intact. The call does stand. No touch. Minnesota will be on serve up by 1, 2 points from the set at a sweep. That would stretch the winning streak to 8 straight matches in the Big Ten, heading into that massive showdown back in Minneapolis against Wisconsin on Thursday night.
So Samity is serving here in this rotation, and again, this is where their point scoring is the worst of any rotation they have tonight. And we'll see if they can change that here, but they have scored 1 point in this rotation all night.
Samity's made a couple of service errors as well. Maurer sets Sandbothi. She wanted a touch. This time the down official is going to give it to her.
And I don't know if there was a touch on this, but both the Gophers are
to what she gave the Buckeyes Friday against Wisconsin. Senior transfer, former second T-ball Big 12 choice at Kansas State. Her sister Taylor had a big game, 11 kills and 6 blocks the last time Ohio State beat Minnesota, which was November of 2014 in Columbus. Minnesota has won 7 straight meetings. Rollins.
What a dig.
Gonzalez.
And Kylie Murr, that is her 21st dig of the night. She's averaging 7 digs per set here tonight. That's why she leaves the Big Ten. She is just a monster back there.
Gruensfelder serves for the set. Pittman. Gonzalez. Miyabe off the block and down. 24 all, headed to extra points in the third.
And they had an opportunity to score there, but a poor set and a pretty good lineup there. But again, Sandbothi, her blocking has been the most vulnerable part of her game tonight, despite still hitting just 0 on the night.
Rollins serves. Sandbothi blocked. It was off her lower body and down. Minnesota has a set and match point.
And I would not have set her in this situation. She hasn't proved to be much of an asset for the Buckeyes tonight. And it looks like the Buckeyes are going to use their last substitution to put Pedraza in, which is smart. It provides an offensive attack at setter and a block.
Gruensfelder down for a dangerous serve. Gonzalez off the block. Pedraza, Gonzalez. Minnesota survives for an in-system attack from Hart. Jeff Carlston wanted a call, didn't get it. Sandbothi cross court, missed, and that's the match. Jeff Carlston is beside himself. The Ohio State fans can't believe it, but Minnesota has bounced back to sweep the Buckeyes and extend their Big Ten winning streak to 8.
And a couple different storylines tonight. One, Sandbothi just not producing offensively, and some poor referees' decisions. But the Buckeyes, despite battling, and they were really close all night long, a couple runs here and there really would have made the difference for the Buckeyes.
So Minnesota needed extra points in the 5th set to beat Ohio State in Minneapolis a couple of weeks ago. But today, smoother for the Golden Gophers, a 2-point win in the 1st set, extra points in the 3rd, but they sweep Ohio